The Leader Grows. I am your host, Ken Jocelyn, and I have got a super duper stud friend of mine on here today. We are going to have a blast. I just spent a weekend with him and my good friend, Dr. Rob Kelly, in San Antonio a couple weeks ago at their Neuro Hero conference that they did there in San Antonio. This dude, my friend Adam Jablin, he is helping people create lasting freedom from addictions. We're going to talk a lot about that today and to ignite your freaking inner hero. Adam Jablin, what's up, homie?
My brother. So good to be here with you today, man. So good.
Dude, take a minute and tell everybody a little bit about you. Dude, what drives you out of bed every day? What's Adam Jablin? What's going on in the world of Adam Jablin right now, man?
Well, brother, it is this feeling to truly free people, to live
Mm,
in a higher reality. I'm coming up, July 14th will be 18 years clean and sober for me.
mm,
My recovery opened up these
come
gifts,
on.
these just these special, wonderful talents that I never knew I had that were blocked inside of me from alcoholism, addictions, fears, insecurities, comparing myself all the time, but getting right with God and then getting right with myself and then getting right with others just gave me a passion. So every day I wake up, man, and I just want to help the next person. I want to remove those fears, those insecurities, those compulsions, those obsessive thoughts, and get them to feel like me,
Mm. I
you
love
know?
what you said. You just said 18 years. You
Yeah.
and I are all fair talking about relationships and all the stuff that single guys our age do, right?
Yeah.
We're just iron sharpening iron, just gleaning off of each other. But you said it over and over and over when we were off air. You said one day at a time.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the power of one day at a time.
It has been the core of how not only I want to live my life, but I have to live my life.
Mm,
I have to. Ken, when I get too far into the future, I am a guy that craves certainty.
mm,
And I want to know how everything will look and how everything will work. And I want to control everything. And if everybody will just act the way I want them to act, behave how I want them to behave, be the way I want them to be, then Adam's world will be great. And that's
mm,
not life.
mm,
And when I'm coming from that perception and I'm coming from that way of thinking, it closes me off to all of God's grace, all the beauty, all the
mm.
pain, the joys, the ups and downs of what life is meant to be. But if I could just stay in the day, just stay in the day, do the best I can mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, tell the truth, help another soul, live within what I would say what the gospels teach, what the 12 steps teach,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? True virtues and values, and then go to bed that night clean and sober, that's a
Mm.
win. And then to use something, you could stack those days.
Yeah.
You could stack, but it's so important for me to stay in the day. Now I look ahead, I have a beautiful vision, I know how things want to be, but when I get too obsessed about that, I can get fearful,
Mm.
I can get competitive, I could get a scarcity mindset. I could react and not respond because I want things my way. So I just got to stay in the present moment.
Yeah. How long in your journey? 18 years is a long time, bro.
Thank you, brother.
How long, congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
How long in that journey for you did it take to where you were like, the light bulb went and you had that aha moment of, man, the power really is in today. It's not in tomorrow, next week, or next month. It's in today.
Yeah. Well, what happened with me was I had a profound spiritual experience in rehab,
Mm,
which kind of brought me in at the end of the movie,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
I had this experience and I was free and I felt that
Yeah.
connection. I felt right out. But then, look, that's great. Spiritual experiences happen
Yeah.
all the time to people.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca, LSD, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They happen all the time. So the idea was how to continue that to make it everlasting.
Mhm.
And that's where the one day at a time concept
Mm.
really, really came in.
I love that. You mentioned the spirituality. Talk about your faith a little bit. How important has your faith been in this journey for you?
Oh God, Ken, it's the foundation, it's the backbone. There's the famous scripture, seek and you shall find.
Hmm.
I feel like I found what I was looking for.
Mm,
Seeking you, it doesn't say seeking, you will continue seeking,
right.
right?
Knocking, the door will be open. Seeking, you'll
Yeah,
find.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Asking, it shall be given. Yeah.
So I feel like I
Mm,
found what I was truly seeking. That doesn't mean I don't continue reading, growing,
mhm,
adding to it, trying to gain a greater faith. And for me, a big one is even a greater trust.
mm.
Like my faith can be strong, but sometimes I don't trust the power. I don't trust God. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah.
don't
Oh,
trust life
100%.
itself. I don't trust.
Yeah.
So that's been the last few years of my recovery is what does trust really look like?
Yeah.
But but that's what it looks like for me. Just because you found something, right? You get the perfect body. That doesn't mean you don't continually nourish it, train it, take care of it. It takes a daily maintenance.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I found that connection. You know what I mean? For me personally, if you want
Hmm.
to look at it in a religious context,
Hmm.
I'm a Jew that found a Jewish Messiah. You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
it can look however you want it to look. I could
Yeah.
talk, you want to talk religious, you want to talk new age, you want to talk practicality in here.
Right.
But it really does come down to those two most, famous lines of love God with all your heart, might, and soul, and love
Love
thy
people.
brother as thyself.
Yeah.
The two
Yeah.
top commandments.
Huge. Yeah. I love that. And dude, it really does encapsulate the entire gospel inside of that. Love
Yeah.
God and love people, man. And you can't love God and not love people.
Yeah. And if you
Like,
don't
man,
learn to love yourself, you're going to treat people how you treat yourself.
that's exactly right. And you'll forgive people with the same lens that you forgive yourself. And dude, I've seen it so much over the past. I mean, I'm 55 and I spent 12, 13 years in full-time vocational ministry, pastoring churches and planting churches and working with some of the largest churches in the country. And that's the one thing I've seen across the board is when you're in a relationship with somebody who has a hard time forgiving, it's usually because they can't forgive themselves.
Yeah.
And that's usually tied directly to them not understanding what God's forgiven them of. So you've been clean and
That's
sober for 18 years.
Yeah.
What
Well, you know
what are
what? I would like to say July 14th, right?
July 14th? I got you.
I'm
2
coming up.
months.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
coming
yeah.
up.
17 years, 9 months, and 20 days.
Yes,
That's
sir.
about close. How's that sound right
Yes,
there?
sir. Yes, sir.
Um, what are some of your favorite moments in this journey?
Oh man. You know, some of my favorite moments were in the very beginning when I was learning how to live this. And
Mm,
my mentor, my spiritual father, we have a book coming out this year. His name is Dion, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame legend. When he would be teaching me how to live and how to think, and we would have these lunches and we would just hang out, and I
mm,
was learning how to emulate the way he lives, the way he behaves, the way he thinks, what to read. And it was like I was still at him, but I was in a different reality.
mhm,
I was in this so being the student, those are some of my favorite moments. And I still am the student, but then some of
mm,
my favorite moments when I was able to pass that information on and watch the lights go on in people's
mm,
eyes. Watching my son be born clean and sober,
mm,
that was just a miracle. Then, running a family business and learning from rather than trying to be my grandfather and trying to be my father, which really just escalated my alcoholism addiction because I couldn't, one was Joe Montana and one was Tom Brady, and I couldn't live up to these two big
right,
shadows.
right.
But getting clean and sober, I realized my gifts were like, I'm more like Phil Jackson.
Mm,
I'm not a quarterback. I'm not even a football player. I'm not even in the same sport. I know how to lead an organization and a team the way Phil Jackson knows how to run a team. And building, taking that family business and building a community of love, support, knowing every single employee one-on-one, knowing when to call a timeout, knowing when not to call a timeout, knowing who's going to work, in the same synergy and let the play go. So watching my gifts come through my recovery on how to lead and how to actually run an empire, That was great. Then understanding that I did have enough courage and balls to start my own thing, which the entrepreneurial journey is
Yeah.
one of the scariest things
Yeah.
I've ever encountered in my life.
Yeah.
You know, what understanding what really love is and the
Mm.
action of love. Understanding that I have a message that I can speak to an audience, and it's not about the me, the Adam show. It's about what I'm delivering and not about what I'm receiving. That was great. Losing love, finding loves, just these ups and downs of life,
Yeah.
Ken. Just the ups and downs and being okay, learning to be okay.
How did those moments strengthen your sobriety?
Well, I'm somebody that I learned the lesson with a little bit of lag time.
We just talked
Right?
about this off
Yeah,
air.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly
So
what we
I
talked about.
dive, I'm all
I
in,
love it.
all
I
right?
love it,
And,
dude. I
and
love
then
it.
the lesson comes later, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm all in, you know what I mean? Which is a great superpower, and it's also a
Yes, it
major,
is. Yeah.
defect of character,
Yeah.
however you look at it.
Yeah.
It strengthened my sobriety when I was able to actually process my emotions, process what was happening to me, realizing that this is a gift, even
Mm,
if it's painful, even if it's ripping me open
mm,
from every pore of my body,
mhm,
realizing that this is a gift, and then understanding that this gift isn't. If I'm selfish, then I just think this gift is for me. Being able to take these lessons once they're really, really anchored and downloaded into my mind, body, and spirit, and pass it on with full transparency, full vulnerability, and really trying to build a true intentional connection with
mhm,
another human being or a group or an audience, pulling the layers of the fucking mask off.
mm,
Knowing how I'm presenting myself, how I'm showing myself,
mhm,
showing, okay, yes, somewhat handsome, somewhat charismatic, so good body, and then being like, I know what you're seeing,
mhm,
right? Because that's my mask. That's my mask. That's for you to
mm,
get into the room with me. Now let me show you who I am.
mm,
And building that connection with somebody and allowing them to feel
mm.
that they're going to be okay.
Talk
Man,
to me.
that's
Talk
the
to me. Yeah, I love it, dude. Talk to me about some of the guys that you've helped
yeah.
that are starting their recovery in this past 18 years and being an instrumental role in helping them find sobriety.
There is no better joy
Yeah.
when you find somebody that actually has the willingness to give this thing a try, one day at a time, and allow the fucking miracles to happen.
Mm,
Can some of these guys listen? I know some of these guys, I met them in a halfway house. They make 10 times more money than me. I know some of these guys, they started and their marriage was absolutely broken. There was no shot, and they're more
mm,
in love today than they've ever been. I know guys that were carrying on to the most shameful stories of what happened, from molestation
mhm,
to robbing their parents to, I mean, really, really, things that if you just itemize prisons, jails, violence, and watching these people transform from the inside out to just be a light bulb
mm,
to other people, and then to realize I was just a participant in that. I was just
mm,
his vessel to, I mean, if I take credit for their recovery, and I take credit for people's accomplishments, I have to take credit for their relapses and failures. So you take no credit.
yeah.
But to watch life unfold, Ken, man, it's what got me into this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see it, man. I see the joy. I see the fulfillment in your countenance when you talk about that process. Talk about your sobriety and how that led you to become one of the top 101 coaches with professional athletes, big time CEOs, businessmen. How did that journey take place in your life?
Again, this goes back to Dion, Ken. It really
Mm,
does. We decided to sell the family business. 14 years clean and sober. and I look at Dion and I'm like, I've had visions, I've had flashes, you know what I mean? Some of them felt very egotistical, to be honest.
Mhm,
You know what
mhm,
I mean? So I didn't trust what they were. Uh, and I remember looking at Dion and being like, what am I going to do now? And
mm,
he like looked at me without blinking. He's like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, you're finally going to be Adam Jablin.
mm,
You're going to bring people to a higher reality. So I started this thing called the Hero Project right when COVID hits, right when COVID hits. And it was a blessing
mm.
because alcohol and drug consumption spiked through the roof because
Yeah.
people were stuck at home with their spouses and with their kids, and and they were losing it, and they needed some sort of support and lifeline. Somehow, some way, all of the repetitions, all of the effort got a little attention.
Mm,
From the attention got momentum, from the momentum started gaining trust, from the trust started meeting the right people at the right time. I couldn't make this up if I tried.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Doors were opened. Things were, I almost felt like handed to me,
Mm,
and this is actually still part of my journey right now. When I'm in that place, what people will now call flow state, when I would
mm,
call trusting, when I would
mhm,
say
mhm,
it's, truly letting go and letting God, that's when all these things really happen for me.
mhm.
Now, when I try to get into that control, I need to make it happen, competitive, you know what I mean? Drive. Like it may look very busy and productive, but for some reason, I squash the opportunity.
Mm.
I squash the opportunities. You know, and it is a lesson that has been repeated until I fully learn it.
So good. So good. I love that. It's almost like the children of Israel in the desert. They just kept marching around the mountain for 40 years until they got it.
Yeah,
So
well,
until
that's
they
me,
got it.
pal. 40
Yeah.
years. You know what I mean?
I said this to you off air. People are always like, Ken, you have so much wisdom. I'm like, do you know how many mistakes I've made in 55 years? A
Yeah,
lot. And
yeah.
I've got amazing friends that I get to learn from their mistakes as well. There's a reason I have the wisdom that I have because of what I've been through. Well, dude, tell me what's on the forecast for Adam Jablin, man. Tell me what's coming up. What are you excited about? What are you pumped about?
Dude, thank you for asking. So we are in the process that, you become the one-on-one guy and you love the work. And I love the work and I love working with people, Ken. It lights me up like no other,
Yeah.
but it's exhausting because
Yeah.
you're pouring, I'm not going to let any client suffer ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to let my kids suffer. Right. So there's one person that's going to burn the candles at both that I'm going to suffer.
Mm.
So we are in the process right now of building a community and a group coaching program. And what I've also started
Mm.
realizing is you could help people more in groups because now they're feeding off
Mm-hmm.
of each other's energy and they can
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, do I wish I had done that earlier? Yes. What makes me feel very proud of myself is I actually got my system and my expertise down that I know it helps a lot. So, as you know, that's kind of like
Yeah.
going back to the drawing board. It's going
Yeah.
back in, kind of getting quiet, building it out, you know what I mean? Which is to
Mm-hmm.
me not the fun, sexy part. I kind of
Yeah.
like being the artist. I kind of like being, I love helping the person, but it's
Mm-hmm.
time to like get quiet, slow it down to build these systems out to then bring that back out to the world. But what I'm most excited about is the book that I have coming out with my mentor Dion. Right. So it's
When's the
called
release date on that?
it
October, you
is
said?
October 29th, and it
Mhm.
correlates with his Broadway play coming out called The Wanderer, which was
And
his
the name of the title of the book is?
is Dion the Rock and Roll Philosopher, Conversations on Life, Recovery, Faith, and
Mm.
Music. And what it is like Tuesdays at Maury's. It's
Mm-hmm.
Dion.
Mm-hmm.
Every chapter is Dion passing these lessons down to me, right? So
Mm.
I'm the author of the book. Dion's talking to me, and in the end, how I will pass that information on.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But you're hearing it from a guy that's 54 years clean and sober,
Yeah.
married for
This is
over.
it right here. Prologue by Eric Clapton and forward by
Yep.
Paul Simon.
Yep.
Wow.
Paul Simon, Bruce
Yeah.
Springsteen,
Yeah.
Bishop Barron, Bob Dylan, Dave Marsh,
Yeah. It's
Stevie Van
unbelievable.
Zandt. You know,
Mhm.
Dion has a very eclectic group of friends, you know what I mean? Because he's a legend. And
Yeah.
these guys looked up to him when they were growing
Yeah.
up.
That's awesome. Well,
So
I'm actually going to put the link in here for this in our show notes. So
that'd
every
be
one of
great.
you guys, I'm looking at actually at the publisher. That's
Yeah.
actually doing this book for you guys. Man,
And
I'm
maybe
super
Dion and
pumped
I
for
can
you,
come
man.
on together to the show
Dude,
together.
100%. I'd love to have
Yeah.
you guys on. That'd be great, dude. Yeah, you're talking about, dude, you're talking about a legend, bro.
A legend.
So
So,
talk to me about that relationship and how you guys got connected.
oh man, I met Dion. It's hard. It's hard. I love him so much. You know, he came to my daughter's graduation with me yesterday.
Mm.
You know, I met Dion when I was 10, 11 years old, and he came to my school and played. And I just moved from Jersey down to Florida. And it was a big deal. Back in 1985, 86, you know, movies like La Bamba and Stand By Me and Buddy Holly Story, all these
Mhm.
movies were out. And there was a revival of that time in the
Mhm.
music.
Mhm.
He was going to be the person on the plane with Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and Richie Valens. And he
Wow.
gave Richie Valens, you know, the plane that went down.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was a revival, and it was the parents made such a big deal. But when I was in the room with him, I'm like an 11-year-old kid. I just found him so magnetic, and like he was wearing the cabbie hat and everything. And I came up and I ran to him and I was like, "That was amazing!" You know, I mean, just an enthusiastic young kid. And I was like the only kid with like a northeastern accent, you know. And he like, you know, he just put his arms around me. He spent 20 minutes with me. Blah blah blah. I don't see Dion until I'm 30.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I don't see Dion until but he made an impression on me. And it's my
Mm.
very first 12-step meeting ever. And
Mm.
I remember walking up to him and I'm like, you could just hear all the doubts and the fears and the insecurities in my head. He's not going to remember. He's going to think I'm asking him for an autograph. He's going to think I want a CD. Like, blah, 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 blah,
Right,
blah.
right, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I come up to him. It's my very first meeting, my very first
Yeah.
recovery. And I'm like, listen, I have to talk to you real fast. He doesn't recognize me, of course. And I'm like, when I was 11, 12 years old, you came to my school and you gave me some time. And like, you don't know what that did for me and how that helped my entire life.
Mm.
And he looked at me, goes, "You're that kid?" And I'm like, "I'm that kid." He's like, "I remember everything." And he went like this. And he had a seat with me right next to him.
Wow.
He took me under his wing that day.
Mm.
That day. We went to lunch and my own recovery process started.
Wow.
And you know, I have my dad who is like a hero to me. My dad crushed it in business. He is a cowboy. He has a mindset and a stone. You know what I mean? He is a man.
Mhm.
But I also have my spiritual father who taught me how to live by these biblical principles,
Mhm.
how to live by these recovery principles, and how to be in the world. You know what I mean? And that relation, you know, in many ways, I can't sing, I can't play the guitar, I can't, you know what I mean? But I do, I have a North Star of how I want to live. You know what I mean? And it's somebody that I'd like to emulate.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, you know, if you were to actually be like, Adam, what's really like, stop it with all the vision and the mission and the purpose and the data and the this. Like, if you were to be like, why the hell are you here? What do you really think you're about? Like,
Yeah.
unrip it for us. You know how Tony Robbins always pays homage to Jim Rohn?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I want that when Dion's no longer on the earth,
Mm.
that his message continues. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I
You
would
know,
want
you know,
what
you
Tony has
say
done
you
for Jim Rohn, I would want to do
you
for
say
Dion.
that, and I'm telling you the one thing we've been having a lot of discussions with my good friend Katino Mobley, who played in the NBA for a long time, and you know, my son-in-law is African American. I've got a lot of black friends. I grew up in Detroit, and I think this the one thing that like Katino and I have been talking about different issues in our society today, and the one thing that we miss in our society today is honor. Like there's no honor anymore. It's if I disagree with you, I'm coming after you. And what you're talking about is honor. Tony honors Jim Rohn and what he's done in his life. Dude, honor is huge. Honor's huge to God. As a matter of fact, there's two of the 10 commandments that were punishable by death. One was thou shalt not murder, and the other one was honor your mother and your father. Like honoring your mother, the honor is huge. And I think, man, as a society, if we could get back to what you're talking about and honoring the input and the value that we get from other people, even if we don't agree. Man, listen, Grant Cardone was instrumental in me starting what I started 4 years ago. But there's a lot of things that I look at Grant and I'm like, bro, we are not in alignment. But it will never stop me from honoring the input and the value that he put in my life. And he was the spark that helped me go, I'm going to go start this thing. And I'm going to honor him. So dude, hats off to you kudos to you for understanding honor and the power of honor. And dude, I think honor is one of the things, if we got that back into our society at the level I think that God really views honor, and we viewed it as important as he does, I think it would change our culture.
I agree. So Ken, to give you a summary of like what I'm up to when it comes to this coaching, personal development, influence space that you and I are in, it's time for me to slow down, to put these things in place where I can really just have a really beautiful community and a really beautiful platform to specialize in helping the people the way I help, where I'm not constantly the one-on-one guy. And during that time, build up to the launch of October 29th with the book with Dion, live one day at a time, try not to live in fear, try not to live in financial insecurity, try not to control the uncontrollable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Try to really be present and enjoy what this life has to offer. And it sounds so easy to say and beautiful to do, but I'm letting you know, for this man here, it can be a challenge, because I can live in my heart, in my head, and heart like that.
100%. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So for me personally, my Instagram account is kind of my hub, right? So go to my Instagram. It's Adam Jablin, at Adam Jablin. I have a website, which again, it's good. It's not great. We're redoing that with everything I'm talking about, right? But we have a website. And you can always reach out to me at info@adamjablin.com. So we have the social media platforms. There's my email. But one thing I am is accessible. So you will reach me and we will talk.
You're accessible. I FaceTimed you on your birthday while I was sitting on the couch
That
watching the game.
That meant a lot. Oh, by the way, I found more phone numbers in my phone that the names just, I don't know if it's but it was weird.
When I was in the Air Force, we called that OE.
What is OE?
Operator error.
Yeah. Story of my life, pal.
Operator, I know, right? Operator error. Well, hey, dude, last thoughts.
Jablin.
I know, right? Final thoughts for our audience today, my friend.
Final thoughts. Don't blame any other people for your life. Stay responsible. Find some sort of spiritual connection. Ken and I use the word God. We believe very, very, very similar, but find what that spiritual anchor is for you. When you straighten out spiritually, the mental, the physical, the emotional, and even the financial will follow. If you try to do those other four before the spiritual, have fucking fun.
I love it, dude. Guys, listen, thank you for joining us on another episode of As the Leader Grows. Adam, I love you, dude. Listen, Adam talked about faith and how important that is. Listen, you can go over to growstatdrive.com/collective and learn more about our core five, what we do inside of our collective, which is a community of faith-based entrepreneurs around the country. Absolutely the most amazing humans on the planet. growstatdrive.com/collective. You can hit the link here. You can hit it on our bio inside of Instagram. Go check out my guy, Adam Jablin, at Adam Jablin. That's Jablin on Instagram. Go check him out. He's absolutely crushing it. Dude, I love you, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, brother, for having me on. Love you, man.